I'd like to call to order the Board of Assessors meeting of October 15th. It is 5:02 p.m. And the first item on the agenda is to read into the record, in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law relating to the 2020 coronavirus outbreak emergency. The October 15th meeting of the Board of Assessors shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. However, to view the meeting in progress, please go to facebook.com/LakeCAM. You do not need a Facebook account to view the meeting. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed at a later date. Okay. We have some meeting minutes to approve. Hopefully everyone has seen them either at the office or via email from Linda. For the September 17th meeting, the remote meeting that we had, I'll entertain a motion to approve those. Someone would like to do that?
A motion to approve the September 17th meeting minutes as written.
Okay, John, do you second that?
Second.
Okay, we have to do a roll call vote, so I'm going to call out everyone's name to keep it simple and make it easier for all of us. So either A or nay. Okay, Jesse?
A.
John?
Yay.
And myself in favor. Motion passes unanimously. Please make a mental note, if you haven't already, to make sure you swing by the office when available. The lockbox is up and working now. My understanding that everyone has a key to get into it, and we know the passcode to get into the back door to sign the excise abatement tax report. And the next item is to sign the motor vehicle warrant and commitments for the 2019/80, 2020/93. So if you guys get a chance, make sure you swing by and sign those, as we normally would do those in person. Next agenda item, I think the next three agenda items, I'm going to turn over to Haral to report on the assessment calendar, the LA3 sale report, and the LA13 new growth report. Take it away.
Okay, so we're drawing close to the end of the year-long assessment process. It culminates with the setting of new valuations for fiscal year 2021. Along with that, new growth has been wrapped up and is ready to submit to DOR for approval. And after this meeting, then, with your blessing and approval, I will actually be in Monday afternoon to finalize assessment reports, get them loaded up into the DOR gateway, and again, with your permission, click the submit button that launches then the review of our submittals, and hopefully culminates in a quick approval of both values and growth. With that in hand, we'll then be able to meet with the selectmen for the annual tax classification hearing. So that's the assessment calendar. We're a little bit earlier this year in that process. I suspect that if I submit those reports on Monday, by Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll have our approvals. We might want to check with the selectman's office, even hold a classification hearing end of this month or maybe the first week in November. But I'd love to get that behind me. And
Haral, quick on as far as that goes. Have you mentioned to the selectmen where we are in the process at this point, or are we waiting until we get everything back from the state approved?
I'll wait for the state. I'd hate to set a date and then because of COVID or some other reason have a hang up at DOR that causes us to delay the classification.
Okay. Yeah, only reason I say, I know they're going to be busy over the next few weeks with obviously some turnover issues, but in addition to that, they are calling a special town meeting for November 30th. So I think the quicker we can get this done and get on their agenda, the better. So.
Okay, good. So I do have a couple of reports that I sent to you earlier. There are actually a number of reports, but without getting too deeply in the woods, we could spend a few hours here mulling over everything. You'll recall a few weeks ago, maybe even a couple of months ago now, I had shared with you the assessment to sale ratio statistics indicating that there has been some general market appreciation. Property values in Lakeville have been on the rise. Remember that the market period that we're dealing with is the calendar year 2019 pre-COVID sales period. So assessed values reflect historic value, not current value. There's some indication that the market is still roaring upward, even in the face of the epidemic. And we might well have another round of increases next year if everything plays out. So we're looking at really market increases that relate to calendar year 2019. We saw from the earlier ratios that our assessment ratio for residential properties have dropped below 90%. We try to maintain our assessments at a conservative, roughly 95% assessment level. That implies then a roughly 5, 6, 7% increase in valuations to keep our valuations approximately in line with the Lakeville market. Any questions at this point before I take you to the first spreadsheet?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so let me take you to the Vision Land and Building Rates spreadsheet. Do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so without getting too much into the underlying valuation formula that's inherent in the Vision system, and without giving you the scores and scores of tables and charts, I'm just going to share with you several of the main or primary valuation charts. And these relate to our land tables and our base building rates. Just understand, looking at these, that there are actually scores and scores of tables that account for things like building grade, how we deal with bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, finished basements, all of that. Usually, I reserve adjustment of those tables to the full revaluation that we undertake every 5 years, and really fix on the important tables, the land and building tables. So if I take you to the first tab, it shows the land curve. What you'll see on that tab is first the residential land, what we call the curve table. 70,000 square feet is the minimum lot size required throughout most of Lakeville. And so if you happen to have a property that has less than 70,000 square feet, you'll see the dollar per square foot rate that we had applied for fiscal year 20. And you'll see that based on my analysis, that analysis really of vacant land sales, we don't have a lot of vacant land sales. I believe we've had about 5 or 6 this year. But based on those vacant land sales, they pointed to the need to increase generally across all residential classes land values by about 3%. So you'll see that it factored in a 3% increase, and there's a column then, column E, headed by 21 rate. That's the 21 land rate for primary land, the primary building site, and you could even multiply the square footage times the rate, and you'd have an idea of what the land, the basic land value would be. For example, 10,000 square foot lot, valued at $11.28 per square foot, will yield you a valuation of $112,800 for that 10,000 square foot lot. I'll pause for a second. Any questions? And then there's a corresponding commercial table. Now, let me take you to the next tab, the land neighborhood. This is where we make further land adjustments based on relative location. Just to refresh your memory, the majority of properties in Lakeville are in the third neighborhood, or what we call economic neighborhood category, the 160/180. And you'll see last year we had a modifier of 1.0. That average neighborhood will continue to have, will continue to be our standard neighborhood. The neighborhood 140 and 150 are deemed to be lesser neighborhoods in terms of desirability. Any of the neighborhoods over 180 are better neighborhoods, and therefore reflect a percentage adjustment to the rate that you saw on the previous tab. The residential neighborhoods 300, well, any of them in the 300 categories, those are all waterfront neighborhoods. And you'll see here that I've only made a couple of adjustments, and these are based on sales. We had homes in our neighborhood 240 group where the ratios, the assessment to sale ratios were high, and I had to bring the values down a touch. And so I've done that on the land side by adjusting the, well, what was a 1.25 or 25% land rate adjustment. That has now dropped a little bit to 1.21. And then in our late waterfronts, the 300 through 342, those are our prime waterfronts are in the 345, 360 category. These would be kind of lesser waterfront properties. And there's some indication that we could trim the valuation, land valuations of those properties a titch. There's no indication of a need to alter the relative location rating of our commercial and industrial. Again, I'll take a pause. Am I going too fast?
Nope. I think we're all following.
Okay, so now we get to the building rates. And I mentioned to you at the onset that we were looking at about a an average 5 to 6% increase in residential values, again, to bring our assessment level back up in conformance and closer to that 95% assessment level. one of the handles that I can turn to make that happen is in the building style table. And you'll see here the base building rates. These are the very basic and initial building rates for each style of property. So if I pick on ranches, for example, we start at a value of $118 per square foot. I look at my ratios for ranches. They indicate, oh, need a little bit more of a bump. Ranches are typically appreciating at a greater rate than other styles. So you see a slightly higher percentage increase in that base rate. Let me comment that these base rates have a number of modifiers. At the $118 per square foot, we're looking at typically a ranch of about 2,000 square feet, but of an average, or what we call a C grade. You might ask the question, well, gee, you can't build a ranch for $118 a square foot. That's true. These days, you would probably be spending upwards of $150 to even as much as $180, $200 per square foot. When this rate is applied times a building quality rating, what we call a grade rating, it ends up pushing that rate up into that realm. So you'll see here just consistently around 5% increases. If there are conventionals, these are kind of your older homes. We call them conventional. They're your like 4 square colonials, kind of turn of the century, not this century, but the 1900 century homes. A little bit less of an increase in the base rate. Big question came to down to commercial, and I've always there's a big question here. We don't have a lot of sales. We probably had a dozen commercial sales. They did overall point to the need to increase commercial values a titch. Generally, I've increased building values on commercial properties about 5%. There's a good reason for doing that as well. In the valuation mix between residential and commercial properties, trying to impact both residential and commercial properties roughly the same wherever we can. I made the decision to weight the increase with a 5% adjustment, similar to what we're finding on residential.
Gerald, do these factors apply across all communities, or is this specific, or did you guys do this specific to us? And the reason I ask is obviously there's a lot of classes here. Well, and whatever it is, 96 of them, and a lot of them aren't even in Lakeville. So.
Well, that's true. These were the building styles that were set up by Vision when they installed the software in our system. You will find some stray commercial types that aren't represented in the greater database. That being said, I think Vision probably ported over these building styles from another community, but the rates themselves are rates that I've derived through various processes, and they are unique to Lakeville. That being said, I always have an eye to other communities, comparable communities. I like to see these rates kind of come in fairly close to similar communities. But they have to be supported by the market. Ultimately, when these rates are applied through an elaborate model generating values for each property. I test those values against the properties that are sold to see whether we have met first our level of value mandate, which needs to be at least 90%. We try to strive for 95%. And then I look at assessment uniformity. Are there any biases in our assessment rates that are causing one class of property to be over or undervalued relative to the others? So a big part of this exercise is to remove those biases to the extent that we can.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, let me take you then to the second spreadsheet, which is our growth spreadsheet. This happens to be arrayed by property address at the top, personal property down at the bottom. Beginning 2 years ago, DOR required us to report line by line, property by property, the added value that we're ascribing to properties that either new construction or additions and such. And so, so you'll see, for example, for Ash Street, we reported an in-ground pool and shed. Norman would have inspected that, entered that into the database. The resulting change led to an $8,500 increase in the assessed valuation of that property. These are the net new growth figures. They don't represent how we value for what the assessed valuation is for Ash. So you see a fair amount of new construction. We have some new townhouses. We have actually an incredible number of new homes. I have to say, in the 31 towns I work in, Lakeville, maybe Rutland, but Lakeville certainly has seen more development than any other community by far. You guys are a hot commodity down there.
Does that surprise you, Harald? Come on.
No, not at all. Very attractive.
You say that to all the towns you work in.
No, I do not. I can assure you. But I don't insult them either. I'll reserve my comments, negative comments for.
Yeah, we have a lot of new growth between the condos and whatnot going up between LeBaron and over there to the train station. I mean, that's quite a big number, in addition to the marijuana facilities.
Yeah. Yeah, so you will, on that topic, if you scroll down, you'll see growth for, well, both the real estate, in the case of 200 Kenneth Welch, the infrastructure build out for their growth facility, and what that translates into an added value, roughly $10 million in new taxable valuation. And then as you scroll down and you get into the under column F, the 500 class properties, those are personal property accounts. You'll see various businesses and items that those businesses have reported that constitute new growth valuation. And of course, Nature's Remedy and Bountiful Farms appear in that listing with some considerable added value. If I take you up to the very top and the far right corner, you'll see a summation of the new growth valuations by major class. And we have in total just under $35 million in added value between real estate and personal property. translated into tax dollars, new tax dollars, that's I think around $440,000 to $450,000 in new tax rate. So that, of course, pleases the budget makers, people trying to balance the budget, and I guess that's all I have to say at this point.
I have no questions. It was very well presented. I don't know if the other two board members have any questions or comments.
Nope, it's all clear.
No, I'm good.
So what I'm going to ask you as a board to do is affirm your desire to have me move forward with submitting new valuations. Those valuations, as I indicated, will be higher. Most cases, somewhere around 5 to 7% higher. And to submit the new growth as I presented it to you.
So you're looking for us to I guess, I don't know, validate or give you the authority to present the new growth numbers to the town or the state, or I mean, do we need a motion or what? I mean,
Yeah.
I think we should have a motion, but are we looking at two things: to approve the increased values and to
move forward with the reporting of that new growth. So the reason why we take pause here is that I'd like to have something in the minutes to record that I'm not running rogue, that I've at least at some level shared what we're doing with our valuations, and that that you have a sense for what has been done and are generally approving.
So I'll entertain a motion to have Harald move forward with both the valuation factors that he presented, and also to present the new growth figures as presented in the other report. Somebody want to okay that motion, and then we'll second it?
So moved.
Okay, John, you want to second that?
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor. Jesse, you in favor?
Aye.
John, you in favor?
aye.
And I am in favor. So motion carries unanimously. Any other items you need to report on, Harald?
No, well, it didn't make the agenda, but we do have a pending appellate tax board case that Tony Ambriano, the special counsel we've retained, has been engaged with them. I can't discuss the details because we didn't make provision for an executive session, but just to let you know that that might be coming up in a meeting. He's trying to do battle on our front to make that case go away.
Well, why don't we can have Linda add that as an executive session item, because I know there's, especially with the Zoom stuff, is a little more involved with
Right.
shutting people down, and or obviously not shutting them down, but that can't be open to the public. So maybe we'll put it on there just to give an update, even if it's nothing more than we're still waiting on some stuff because we haven't discussed it in a while. So we'll put that on for the next meeting.
On the business front, I'll also have to talk to you about personal property in our contract with RSC. Spoke with Brian Pelletier, the president of RSC, the other day, and he is wanting to know Lakeville's pleasure with respect to the valuation of public utilities. There's a whole new methodology that assessors will have to deploy next year, and it involves a fair amount of work, and there's of course a price tag that comes with that. So we'll have to visit that.
Well, sounds like you're going to have to give us the details and discuss at a future meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you have nothing else to report, any old business that anybody needs to bring before the committee, the board today? Any new business? Okay, having no one responded, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'm not sure who so
Second.
moved it, but who's, I think, John, did you so move that?
I did.
Okay. Jesse, I think you seconded
A
it.
second. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna roll call vote this out. John, you in favor?
Aye.
Jesse?
Aye.
And I am in favor. Meeting is officially closed. Thank you, everyone.